Hello, everyone. Darren here. And on today's episode of WoTC Academy, we're going to look at the differences between the traditional light tanks and the wheeled light tanks. Now, why am I saying the differences? Well, to be honest, there seems to be a lot of confusion going around as to why the wheeled lights just, at least compared to the traditional lights, suck. Why would you play the wheeled lights? Why is the view range so bad, etc., etc.? And that is because these two types of light tanks are completely different, and I'm not talking about just like their method of propelling themselves. I mean, like, they are designed to serve two different distinct purposes. They have two different niche roles. They are, these vehicles are not built around your particular play style. You have to adapt to the play style of the wheeled vehicles. So, expecting, being a light tank player and then expecting these lights to perform the same way, you're going about it all wrong, and I feel the need to explain as to why that is. So, we are going to kick it off by starting with the traditional light tanks. Exactly what is their purpose, what is their role on the battlefield, what do they excel at, and then we're going to switch on over to the wheeled light tanks, and we're going to go over the same exact stuff of what is their purpose, what is their role on the battlefield, what do they excel at, and yeah, that's going to pretty much be it for today's video. So let's get started. Okay, so since the traditional light tanks have been in the game for years now, and since the inception of the game, I'm going to basically breeze through the tracked light tanks, because pretty much everyone knows their strengths and weaknesses and what they are supposed to do already. So this is going to be a little bit of a fast one. Now, traditional lights excel at both active and passive scouting. If you don't know what those scouting methods are, passive scouting is when you sit in a bush, you don't fire at enemy tanks, you just spot the enemy, and your team does the damage for you, and you rack up a very nice amount of spotting assist. Active scouting is the bit more riskier, flamboyant method of scouting that you obviously sometimes see people just get absolutely destroyed over. And basically, active scouting, the smart method of active scouting is to just extend yourself enough to spot the enemy team without getting completely killed by the enemy team, and while still dealing damage for yourself and spotting the enemy team for your team to shoot them. Now, the other objective the objectives for traditional light tanks is to hunt down and destroy enemy light tanks and artillery. The artillery part being if you can actually get to them without getting killed in the process there. If the trade-off is 1-to-1 in that scenario, then don't even bother doing it, no matter how justified you think your crusade is. You're more helpful when you are actually spotting the team longer in the game than going to kill one tank that, yeah. Now, traditional lights are also opportunistic damage dealers and flankers because of their much higher mobility compared to other tanks. They are able to get around the battlefield quicker. They're able to exploit gaps in the enemy's lines quicker. And especially at the upper tiers, they have guns comparable to medium tanks, which makes them really good at basically flanking or taking care of low health, singled out tanks that are hiding around in the back. Other than that pretty much summarizes traditional light tanks. We're now going to move on to the wheelies, as that's a little bit more in-depth since they are very new to the game. Now, wheelies are different, but they also have the same objectives, just they have to handle them differently. And that's what a lot of people are confusing. Now, the wheelies are opportunistic damage dealers and flankers like the standard tracked light tanks, and they are very good at circling lone tanks to death. So that is one thing that they excel at better than the traditional tracked light tanks. Now, their objectives are pretty much kind of like the same for the traditional lights, they just have to handle it differently. Their objective to destroy enemy light tanks, they can do it. They can duel enemy light tanks effectively because of their high maneuverability um, in rapid mode, as well as their very good gun stabilization when not in rapid mode. However, it's more of a risk in the wheelies because of the lower HP, and of course, your large wheels are easy to knock out, which significantly slows you down and hinders your maneuverability. So, generally, you want to avoid dueling tracked lights one-on-one unless it's an easy kill for you or it's absolutely necessary. Now, moving on to the individual tiers and stuff here. The tier 9 and 10 can use the very good camo to ambush and damage enemy lights, as well as sometimes stay unspotted, depending on how close or far away they are from you. Now, they can use both scouting methods, but they are more suited to active scouting. Now, the tiers 6, 7, and 8 are more suited to active scouting due to the lackluster view range and the normal camo for the lights. But the tier 9 and 10 can both active and passive scout because of the high camo and their acceptable view range. I also would like to point this out just for wheeled vehicles in general, that it is important to focus on your surroundings and where you are driving. Because of your light tanks are significantly lighter than traditional tracked lights, even the slightest obstacle that you may hit may slow you down significantly, which makes you a very easy target, aka like trees and destructible buildings. You are not going to go through those quickly. Also, due to the wheels, you can't escape a bad crash into a building or rock. Even more, those buildings with wooden overhangs and poles, you can get stuck quite easily and then get your wheel shot, which, of course, spells your doom to anyone that knows what driving a wheeled light tank is like. Other than that, that's pretty much about it. That's the differences between traditional lights and wheeled lights. I just want to stress here that wheeled lights are very different from traditional lights. If you weren't already good in tracked lights, don't go and try to do wheeled lights, because you cannot have the wheeled lights adjust to your play style. You have to adjust to the wheeled lights. Now, of course, if you're very experienced with traditional light tanks, then just think of wheeled lights as, the hard difficulty in whatever game of light tanks you're playing. So, yeah. I just wanted to explain the differences between these two because there seems to be a lot of confusion. A lot of people seem to expect these vehicles to behave exactly like tracked light tanks, and that's not the case. These have a completely different, way of playing the game, and you have to adapt to that way. You cannot have them adapt to you. But that does it for today's video. I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'd like to thank oh, geez. I have forgotten his name already, although Flying Egg, yes. I would like to thank Flying Egg for the footage you're looking at right now. And, of course, I want to thank my team for providing me the information, especially for the higher-tiered wheeled lights, as I don't have them yet. But if you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. If you found this video helpful, hit that thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to subscribe. But until next time, this has been Darren of WoTC Academy.